start right off with a piece Shinonome by composer Kori Nakano. And Shinonome is that time of the morning when you see the eastern sky just starting to become visible. So this is Shinonome, hichiriki. Thank you. That was Shinonome by Kori Nakano. This is one of 15 pieces that have been selected for a 15 Minutes of Fame from a call that was for hichiriki. The call was originally for clarinet or hichiriki, and we were thrilled that enough people wrote for the hichiriki instead of the clarinet that we're able to do both. So I'm just premiering a few of the pieces from that call, the clarinet and the hichiriki. The next piece is Yomi by Sandro Montalto. Thank you. That was Yomi by Sandro Montalto. The next piece is by David Loeb. This was written in 2014. It is Shinro, or Deep Mist. Thank you. That was Shinro, or Deep Mist by David Loeb. So we'll move to some clarinet pieces. This first piece by Dorian Tabb, and he was 10 when he wrote this, 10 or 11. He was 10. He wrote this last year during the pandemic, and this is called Exploration. And it's a short piece, but broke it up into little sections called Exploring the Cave, Calm Seas, The Haunted Mansion, and Giggles. This is Dorian Tabb's Exploration. That was Exploration by Dorian Tabb. I don't know if you're watching, Dory, but thank you again for this music. Next piece. Next piece, new piece, just a couple of months old, I guess, or maybe even only a few weeks old, is by Emma Schifrin. And this is called Dialogue. That was Emma Schifrin's Dialogue. And the next one is Cat and Jay by Monica Chu. And if Mike Shelley is watching, I dedicate this performance to you and your love of cats. Have no idea who Jay is in this story, but we'll go with the cats for you. Cat and Jay. That's Monica Chu's Cat and Jay for clarinet. And final piece is Miho Sasaki's A Little Piece in the Alley Looking at Blue Sky. This was written last year and was premiered as part of a benefit concert to aid musicians affected by the pandemic. We'll be giving its live in-person concert review in 2 weeks at Barge Music on October 1st here in New York. Don't know if you're watching, Miho, but thank you so much for this music. This is A Little Piece in the Alley Looking at Blue Sky. Thank you. Thank you, Miho. Miho Sasaki's A Little Piece in the Alley Looking at Blue Sky. And that's it for the music for today. I think we're going to chat a bit here for a second. Stay with us a second. And you want to give them a peek of the view we're looking at?
Yeah.
Can you do
that?
that?
Sure. I
don't know if there's a... Yeah?
We can do that.
Yeah.
This is, just so everybody, we're in New York,
Okay.
downtown, Midtown.
Looking over Hell's Kitchen.
And there it is. How cool is that? So Tom, let's talk about 15 minutes. Let's talk about you.
Okay. 15 minutes of fame is easier to talk about. Actually, I can do both. 15 minutes of fame. So you can tell these people what it is. But the bit for my part puts out a call for 1 minute pieces, and you pick 15 minutes of it. That equals 15 minutes. And I've done a lot of these for I don't know when you started it, but I've done for clarinet and guitar. First one I did was clarinet and piano, clarinet and guitar, clarinet, cello and piano, something else, I'm embarrassed to say I don't remember. And then this call was because for some reason I'd never done just clarinet. So I said, oh, what if I put it clarinet or hichiriki, give composers, because we really didn't, or I didn't think, that enough composers would write for this rather unknown instrument. It's a traditional Japanese instrument. We got enough scores, thank you people who sent it in, to split it up into clarinet concert and a hichiriki concert. So I'm thrilled to do a hichiriki concert.
So yeah, so we have 15 pieces for clarinet, all 1 minute works by different composers, and another 15 people were chosen. So we got double for hichiriki and 15 other composers.
Yeah.
And they're all different. So it's 30 different composers altogether.
Yeah.
It's so 2 concerts. It's going to be great.
It's going to be a lot of fun, and like I said, I was thrilled to have that many that were interested in writing for the hichiriki. I know some of the composers were familiar with the instrument because I knew them before. I didn't know they were going to submit something. Some I could tell when they submitted the pieces that they had done their research. When we put out the call, I told them to go to my hichiriki webpage to learn about how to write for the instrument. I could tell that some had actually done the work and the time to put into it, and a lot of very good pieces that work very well on this instrument. I know for a classical contemporary composer, it's not the easiest instrument to write for, to make it sound like it should sound good on the instrument.
Right.
And so I really appreciate those of you who sent me in these pieces. Yeah.
It was a great selection, and you know the 2 pieces you played were really awesome.
Yeah.
And we did a little class too.
Yes.
Yeah, little master class seminar.
How to write for the hichiriki.
Yeah, and just had people like write sketches, whole pieces. You got whole pieces.
Whole pieces were sent in, and some of those people submitted a shorter piece for the call, and the longer ones were great, and some of them very challenging, very good for the instrument, but very challenging pieces. So it's good for me. It makes me work a little bit harder practicing for them. Yeah.
So, and Tom, is this just how often do you play new music? I mean, is it just the kind of a side gig you do when Rob calls you?
It's how I pay my rent.
Well,
yeah, I would say as much as I like Mozart and Brahms and all of that, and yes, I play them, but probably 80–90% of what I do for quite a few years now is playing new music, and most of that, fortunate, is music written for me.
Oh.
So I'm very lucky that I get in on the ground floor of these pieces, and some composers just deliver it and say, here it is, and that is fine if it's a good piece. Some want a lot of collaboration back and forth, and that's fine too. But yeah, I'm very fortunate to be able to spend most of my time playing pieces that are written for me. Yeah, I'm very honored and to be able to do that and to play these all sorts of, and everything from solo clarinet pieces through ensemble pieces up to concertos.
Well, we're very honored to have you play our pieces.
No, thank you.
I think most composers know it's kind of grueling to be able to, you sit in your studio out and you're writing for people, and some that you make contact with, which is great. I mean, because there's that collaboration or talk, or it's just more comfortable, right? It's like,
Yeah.
and then a lot of times it's just, you write and you sort of put it into the ether. And yeah, it's great to have great musicians like you sort of champion our stuff.
Yeah. And one of the funny stories, Dorian Tabb's piece, this is now the third piece. He's only 10, I think he's 11 this year at some point. Third piece he's written for me. Last February I did a concert and played this wonderful quartet by his mother, composer Dalit Warshall. And then after the concert, she introduced me to his son, said he was also a composer. He's 10, he's a composer. Yes, he studies composition and all of that, but he's a composer. So I whispered to her and said, is it okay if I ask him to write something for me? Because I didn't want to put him or her on the spot. And she said, go for it. He has to learn. This is what being a professional composer. So I asked him, would he like to write something? He said, yes. Our concert that I met him was on Tuesday. We were repeating the program on Friday night. So I said, okay, let's work this contract out. I said, if you deliver me a short piece by Thursday night, I will play it on the Friday concert. And I said, my request though is that it not be too hard, because I'll have to learn it between Thursday and Sunday. And I had no idea what he would deliver or whatever. And his mother made him agree. We shook hands, got the piece Thursday afternoon, early, before the deadline. And we know some composers aren't good with that. And it was it was short, it was a wonderful piece. And so, played his piece right before his mother's piece. And then last summer, when I was asking composers who I'd worked with to write pieces for the benefit concert, his mother asked, could he write one? I said, of course. And he wrote this wonderful clarinet and piano piece. And it's a wonderful, wonderful piece. And so I'm glad that's how you meet composers sometimes. You meet them, and usually my first question with the composer, of course, is, have you written anything for clarinet?
Right.
Yeah, that's what I want to know.
Right.
And so that is one of my favorite stories of meeting someone.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
Well, what a great story.
Yeah.
I mean, it's kind of a composer's dream, is to have a great player just go write me a piece.
Right. Yeah. Yeah.
Fabulous.
Yeah.
So tell us a little. So we had those two short pieces for hichiriki.
Yeah.
We have two for clarinet.
Yeah.
And you had two the longer pieces.
Yes.
So tell us a little bit about those pieces.
The longer Shinro, the longer hichiriki piece, was written after and in response to the terrible earthquake and tsunami, not so many years ago. David Loeb spends part of the year for many, many years in Japan, and he's written for a lot of Japanese instruments. So that piece, The Deep Mist, was sort of like after the tsunami along the coast. There were no more trees except a few, and that deep mist coming in, and I saw that as the souls. People were looking for their family members, and for me that sound is a cry through the deep mist that I'm still here, or at least their souls are still here. And that was my interpretation of his Deep Mist. The piece by Miho Sasaki, the longer clarinet piece, and she wrote that last year during the pandemic while she was stuck in Indianapolis. And she's written me quite a few pieces, and they're usually based on either some experience the two of us have had, or she sees the photos I put up on the website, and so that was what that was from. Those were the longer pieces. Yeah.
And so, what attracts you to the hichiriki?
The sound at first. I started going in 2005, spending about half the year in Japan, and I wanted to play a traditional instrument. I started seriously studying the shakuhachi. I was a terrible shakuhachi player. I could not figure it out. Why? My teachers couldn't figure out why I can't play this instrument. It was very difficult to get a sound. I didn't know my chin, whatever. So my shakuhachi teacher in Tokyo, in a lesson, said, "Do you know the hichiriki?" Like, okay, that's really subtle. I knew what it was. I knew the sound. I'd never seen one played live. I asked a shamisen player friend of mine if he knew a hichiriki player that played gagaku, the traditional music, as well as contemporary music, because I wanted to play both. And he said yes, and it was Hitami Nakamura, hello Hitami, who plays both. And I went to her to study, and within the first lesson, it became obvious that, oh, this instrument makes sense to me. Maybe it's because it's a reed instrument, the production of it, and within a couple of months was starting to put hichiriki pieces that had been written for me onto my programs. And so now it's been maybe 6 years and maybe 30 pieces written for me, including one of the world's first hichiriki concertos.
Oh, wow.
Masatoru Goya has written a lot of pieces for hichiriki for me. And some of them next Sunday, as a matter of fact, at Tenri. I think the concert's at 3 or 5, check out. Playing a piece hichiriki and kugo, the harp, and 2 pieces hichiriki and piano. And so we got a nice grant from NISCA for him to write a hichiriki and concerto for hichiriki and strings.
Oh, wow.
And it has not been played yet. It should have been premiered last year, but we know what happened last year. He also made a string quintet version of it, so it would get more performances, of course. And that will be premiered in December in Thailand at a new music festival that's happening in Bangkok in December 15th, 17th. Yeah.
Wow.
So yeah. So that attract the sound, and the range can be a little frustrating because it's narrow. It's
Sure.
not that big, but it is very vocal, and the flexibility of the sound. There's no key, so the bending that you do up and down is. It's one of the beautiful things about the instrument. It's also one of the harder things about it because trying to maintain pitch,
Right.
especially if you're playing with a Western instrument or like piano and they're there and you have to
Find
it.
Sure.
But I love the flexibility of it. Yeah.
Beautiful. And you said the sort of classical, or classical is not the right word, original music.
The traditional.
Traditional.
Yeah, gagaku. Yes.
Tell us a little bit about that, because that's unique, right?
Yes, it is one of the oldest forms of ensemble music in the world. It's been around many, many hundreds of years. And of course, it was first just for the royals, and then it's branched out. It's still played in the Shinto services, the weddings, and you will hear that. And then, but it's also become outside of the court. It's still the traditional music, and the pieces that you will hear have been handed down generation by generation by generation from teacher to student. And there is now, maybe the notation has been around maybe 100 years now or so, but before that, it's all been by listening to your teacher. And so that oral tradition, and that's how I study it in Japan. The teacher, we sit across from each other. It's called shoga, where she sings it, I sing it, I try to sing it back. We sing it, then we sing it and finger it, then she plays it, then I play it, and then we play it together. So it's a very long process even to get through, say, one line of vertical line of music.
Well, it's really like the storytelling almost. Sort
Yes.
of, wow.
Yeah. And what the notation is not Western notation. And a lot of what you hear, of course, is not notated, because you just know that to go, I don't know if I read this still about that. And that's the beginning of Eitanraku, one of the most famous pieces. But if you just looked at the notation, or some people have tried to put it, it would go. I mean, those are the Western notes, but there's all, and that's much faster, it should be, but it's all of that stuff that's in between and those pitch bends.
Yeah, it totally transforms.
Yeah.
It's amazing.